Let's get nice and dark with some good Batman stories. I'm very excited for this. Welcome back, Gothamites. If you're new here, hi. I'm London, aka History of the Batman. So the other day I received a very awesome care package from my family at DC Comics. First of all, they sent me this Batman black and white statue that was designed by Amanda Connor, who's one of my favorite artists of all time. There he is. Look at him. Just chilling. Right? And if you don't know, I love Batman black and whites. I have more. Those are just the ones that are on display. But I love this. Look at the cape. Let's appreciate this cape for a moment because, man, so cool. I love it. I love all the detail. And then they sent me 3 trades. They sent me the Barnes & Noble Special Edition trade for Scott Snyder's The Batman Who Laughs, which I absolutely love. And if you're like, who's the Batman Who Laughs? And you're like, I have no idea what that is. I actually did a whole video that talks about everything you need to know about the Batman Who Laughs, where he comes from. Is he Joker? Is he Batman? What are we doing? I talk about it, so I'll put that in the description if you're interested. And the special edition Barnes & Noble trades actually come with a lithograph by the artist, and this one has this Greg Capullo Batman Who Laughs print. So I think that's so dope. I received the Batman Detective Comics issue 1000 deluxe edition. So it collects that entire book in a nice trade. It's like, ooh, it's very nice. So very, very cool to celebrate Detective Comics hitting issue 1000 and Batman's 8th anniversary. A very fun book. I actually did do a review of Detective 1000. It came out in March, so it is not new. However, if you're like, I want to pick this up, but should I pick it up? If just the milestone issue alone just doesn't do it for you, I did a review on this, so I'll throw that in the description as well. Like, watch everything. And probably the thing I was most excited about, I love the statue, don't get me wrong, like I do. But I got Brian Azzarello and Lee Bermejo's Batman Damned, which I have said this before in at least one video. This is one of my most favorite modern stories that I've read like last year, this year, of Batman. This is also a Barnes & Noble special edition, so yeah, you guessed it. You get a nice lithograph that is Lee Bermejo. Look at that. He's one of my favorite artists in the game, just period. His work is simply outstanding. Thank you, DC, for sending me these things. I really appreciate it. I love being a part of your family, and that you have invited me into your family over the last several years, and yeah, I appreciate it. So thank you for that awesome gift in the mail. I did all of that to say this right here, receiving this in the mail actually gave me the idea for this video that you are watching today. The 3-issue series Batman Damned, which originally came out in 2018, it just finished the summer of 2019, is part of DC's Black Label, which is specifically geared towards a more mature audience. Small kids should not be reading anything that comes under this label. Thinking about the fact that Batman Damned is not suitable for kids or a young audience, I wanted to kind of talk about the top 10 best Batman comics that I think that reader discretion should be advised. I think it's not for kids. Some might not even be for really young adults. Could be from the extensive violence, because let's face it, no matter what Batman comic, there's some type of violence, right? He's gonna punch someone in the face. He might even break somebody's leg. That's kind of par for the course. Batman is an aggressive, violent person. That's just all part of his crusade for justice. It's putting people in the hospital, but that's another video. But these stories that we're going to discuss in this video are just not for kids, or you should not be giving this comic to like an 11-year-old to read. Even though these comics are dark and they kind of push the boundaries on the topics and the storylines that we see in Batman comics, they're still really, really fantastic stories. I am excited to dive into some stories that maybe you have read before or maybe you haven't, and I recommend all of them. But before we go down this dark rabbit hole, why don't you subscribe to this channel and become part of this wonderful Gothamite community? I'm just gonna start off with one of my favorite I think Batman stories, and probably my guiltiest pleasure within all of the comic book world, and that is, of course, Frank Miller and Jim Lee's series AllStar Batman and Robin the Boy Wonder. I know that people just don't like it, and they just are like, this is trash, this is a horrible representation of Batman, all of those things, but I don't care. It makes me laugh and it is entertaining. This series is under the very short-lived DC Comics imprint AllStar. The series is also within Frank Miller's Dark Knight universe, which is on Earth 31, and it has stories such as 1986's Batman: The Dark Knight Returns and all of those events that happen in Frank Miller's Dark Knight tales. And AllStar Batman is supposed to be a retelling of Dick Grayson's origin story in becoming Batman's first sidekick, Robin. However, that is not why AllStar Batman is remembered. No, it is Batman whose interpretation is the most extreme, sadistic, crass, and, in the words of Stanley Kubrick, ultra-violent vigilante out there in Gotham. I honestly think it is a parody amongst the Batman mythos. Batman this way is just comedic at a certain point. And if you're like, oh, well, where is Batman so dark in this book? I mean, literally close your eyes, open up the book, do like this and pick a page, and that would count in this. I mean, even if you just focus on how Bruce treats Dick Grayson just by itself, nothing else in the comic, it's rough. I mean, Dick Grayson is a child. He's little. And yet, Bruce calls him retarded. He even makes him go hunt and kill rats in the Batcave, and that's the food he's given to eat. Like, he just treats him so horribly. But then there are also scenes like Batman and Black Canary having sex while criminals burn to death like only a few yards away. I mean, it's a lot of unnecessary violence and even things that are of a way more sexual nature. It's just completely not for kids. Honestly, it's a really dark and violent story, but I love the fact that it's so crazy, because I honestly think the concept of Batman is crazy. It is. No matter what kind of Batman you're watching or reading, Batman himself, the figure, it's an insane idea. So they just cranked that up to about 1,000, and that's AllStar Batman and Robin the Boy Wonder, and I don't care. I recommend it. Our number 9 story is called Joe Chill in Hell. That story is a trip. I actually reread it about like a week ago, and I think that's why I decided to put it on the list, because no one talks about this story, but it's really dark. So this is a Grant Morrison and Tony S. Daniels story that was originally published in Batman issue 673. And in this story, it has Bruce Wayne's Batman trying to rationalize what is going on around him within his subconscious after he is shot by the Bat Devil, or Simon Hurt. In this state of awareness but not awareness, he tries to pull to either past events that have happened in his life or even past figures to kind of ground him to figuring out who he is and what's going on. It's a really surreal storyline, but follow me. He thinks of figures such as Batmite or even Joe Chill himself. Now you see Joe Chill within the subconscious, and he's in this house and Batman decides to mentally torture Joe Chill every night. He goes into his house and literally scares him to death. He frightens him. And this goes on for about a month. And Joe Chill's kind of criminal associates, they don't understand, because Joe Chill keeps saying, Batman is out to get me every night. But they're like, he's not here, fam. What are you talking about? And it's because He's not there, but he's still messing with Joe Chill. How it ends is the worst part. That's not even the part that's like, wow, that's kind of dark. No, Batman goes the last night, you know, scares Joe Chill or whatever, but then shows him the gun that Joe Chill used to gun down Bruce Wayne's parents, Thomas and Martha, when he was young, and basically pushes Joe Chill to use the gun on himself to end his life. That's where we are. Now, Joe Chill is like the monster of the Batman mythos right next to Joker, because he is the reason why Batman exists. Even Joe Chill at the end of this part, and the thing is, this is only a section of the comic. There's a lot more going on, but this right here, these few pages are just crazy. But even at the end of the Joe Chill section of Batman's subconscious, I suppose, he's like, I can't even live because I can't let all these other criminals that I know realize that I am the reason why Batman, the man that terrorizes us and stops us from committing crimes, I'm the reason why that he exists. Any story that deals with things like suicide are really dark, no matter what the context is. Even for Batman, who is confronting the man that took his parents away, that's just a lot of trauma we're dealing with. Maybe not the best way to deal with it, Bruce, but we're dealing with it any way we can. Our next story is called Batman Tenses, and it is a 2-issue arc that was created by Joe Casey and Cully Hammer. And I think it is another underrated Batman story that you really don't hear a lot of people talk about. So this story is set within Bruce Wayne's literal year 1 of him being Batman. Now Bruce is taking up the role as CEO of Wayne Enterprises, which of course was his father's role. And he is trying to prove to everyone that works in this huge company that he is worth the title of CEO, and not just because his name is Wayne, you know what I mean? So one of Bruce's first actions, which actually becomes rather controversial, is the fact that he is going to downsize a lot of the smaller companies that are under the complete umbrella of Wayne Enterprises. And this actually affects a man named Ted Crosby, who actually gets laid off from his job because of the downsizing. And because of this event, this actually sets off something horrible inside of Ted, and that is, if he sees anyone, he can look at their face and then he'll envision how they're going to die. And he sees horrific deaths, which you get to see too in this comic, which is why I had to put on this list. One of them, he sees a man dying a fiery death from a car accident. He sees a homeless man that he passes on the street hanging from the fire escape. He even sees a woman that he meets in a bar who gets stabbed to death about 12 times in an alley when she's leaving that said bar. It even gets to a point where Ted is hospitalized in Arkham Asylum because it's literally warping his mind and it's making him actually crazy, being able to see the horrific future. And one point it even gets to him seeing basically the apocalypse. And it's not just a PR nightmare when Ted's hospitalization gets tied with him being a former Wayne Enterprises employee. And of course, this all happened right after Bruce becomes CEO, so drama. But Batman has to actually stop Ted because Ted is now on the hunt for his father, who actually abused Ted as a child. So he's out for blood, especially since he can see how he dies. So Ted wants to make sure that happens. It's dark, but it's really good. Like I said, really obscure. If you're okay with seeing people like hanging and getting burned to death and all of that, then you should go look for that. Go on eBay, I bet you it's there. Our number 7 story is one of my all-time favorite Batman comics, illustrated by my all-time favorite Batman artist. And of course, that is the Elseworlds series, but we can focus in particular on the first story of this 3-issue limited series, and that is called Batman and Dracula Red Rain, and it was written by Doug Mensch and illustrated by Kelly Jones. See, I even had him in the back, and that is my Kelly Jones Red Rain Vampire Batman. I take him with me everywhere I go now. On this channel, I have talked about this story many, many times. I even did an entire video saying why this particular Batman is the ultimate Batman in his entire history. I make a very convincing argument. You may not agree with me, but I honestly think that this scary ass vampire blood draining Batman creature is like the epitome of what I think Bruce Wayne wants Batman to be. He wants him to scare people and to bring fear into their lives and all those things. Can't get scarier than that. Gotham is being run by Dracula and his vampire minions. In order for Batman to actually get rid of the vampires and fight Dracula without dying himself, he has to literally turn into a vampire. Of course, that comes with bloodlust and all of the other things that you have to deal with being a vampire. And so that series literally captures Batman's descent into being a bloodthirsty demon. And it is one of the most gory, bloody, just intense Batman stories you can read. Kelly Jones' art is very exaggerated, the cow's elongated, everything's scary. It is a book fit within the horror genre. It's supposed to be dark, it's supposed to be bleak, it's supposed to be scary. That is probably the most gory story on this particular list, so that's why I had to be on there. Hey, it's Halloween time, so it's a perfect time if you're not really into the horror stuff, but you're like, I want to celebrate Halloween in a Batman way. I definitely recommend checking that out, because why not? It's so good. It's so good. All right, number 6 is Batman Damned. I had to put it on the list. I mean, that book's the reason why I wanted to make this video. So, Batman Damned is a 3-issue arc which came out September 2018, and the 3rd issue was finally released in June of 2019. And I say finally because literally it was postponed, the 3rd final issue, to come out like 5 times. Not even exaggeration. This book, I just remembered, also inspired my video, the most controversial, best canceled Batman books, because they kept canceling this last issue and I was pissed because I'm like, no, I need to finish this. The Joker is dead. And it seems like Batman killed him, but Batman literally can't remember if he did or not. So he seeks the help of John Constantine. And we go on a very, very supernatural, really dark journey. And we come across figures such as Zatanna, Enchantress, Etrigan, and Swamp Thing, who are the darkest supernatural figures in the entire DC universe. And they are all helping Batman, for better or for worse, figure out what actually happened to the Joker and if Batman is actually tied to his arch nemesis demise. There is a point where Bruce's actual costume starts to attack him. I just want to show you these 2 pages, and you can't tell me that not only is this art outstanding, but how scary can it be for your costume to come attack you? Like, that's a horror movie all by itself. I definitely recommend Batman Damned. It is under the DC Comics Black label for a reason. Let's keep going, because we got more. Ooh, the next one, number 5, is Batman the Cult, which I know I have talked on this channel as well. Batman the Cult is a 4-issue series that was written by Jim Starlin, who I just did a panel with at Los Angeles Comic Con. I actually got to ask him about Batman the Cult, which was very, very cool. And it was illustrated by Bernie Wrightson, who was the late and great, amazing, incredible artist. And he even said working with him was insane as well. In this story, while Batman is investigating a series of murders. He ends up in the Gotham City sewers where he is kidnapped, chained, drugged, and brainwashed by this propaganda cult leader called Deacon Blackfire. And he's down there for a real long time. Batman is he's just a mess. He's just not himself. He is warped in every way, shape, and form possible. To a point where when he goes up on the surface with all the other people that are in this cult and they start killing and hurting people, Batman's all along for the ride, killing people, using a gun. All the things that he is personally against actually is Jason Todd, who is the current Robin at the time, who has to help him become his old self again. Any story that deals with brainwashing or cults or drugging someone or chaining them up in a nasty sewer and just ruining their life is pretty dark, I would say. I'm pretty sure I also added this story in my video Batman comics that deal with real life issues, which is another one of my favorite videos and topics to talk about. It's dark. That's the theme of this video. I'm sorry if I'm out of it. But I'm glad I'm here talking to this camera and kind of talking to you guys about it. Love that. This next one, our number 4 story, is also, I think, in the Batman comics that deal with real life issues. Unfortunately, it is actually a very sad and dark story. That is Andrew Bosch's 1995 book, Batman: The Ultimate Evil. Bruce Wayne starts to work with a social worker within Gotham to investigate different child abuse cases that are happening within the city. And then while he's doing this research, both Alfred and him learn of his mother, Martha Wayne, being involved in trying to break up a pedophile ring that was happening in Gotham. But because Martha and even her husband Thomas were trying to break up this child sex ring, they became a target, and that is what actually led to them being gunned down in an alley. After Bruce learns this horrific history on the death of his parents, as Batman, he goes to follow this ring that is actually horribly thriving, disgustingly so, in Southeast Asia, and he goes to actually break up the child sex ring that his mother tried to when she was alive. Now, I know I said this in the other video where I talked about the story, but of course, clearly it is dark because it has a subject matter of child abuse and child sex trafficking, which is dark whether it's in a comic or in the real world. This book is an essential not just because it is a really good Batman detective story, and you see more about Martha and Thomas and not just they were killed in an alley. I love stories that go deeper into the lives of Thomas and Martha when they were actually alive. But at the end of this book, there is an essay written by the author that talks about the real life child sex rings that are happening and what you can do to help stop them all over the world. And so just for that, I would say go pick up the book. It is a really heartbreaking, but a really good read. So number 3 is another Brian Azzarello and Lee Bermejo graphic novel that is another one that I reread a lot. And if you love Joker, this one you have to read. You just do. Of course, this is the 2008 graphic novel simply titled Joker. Of course, the story is told by one of Joker's henchmen, and it's a very basic plot. Joker gets out of Arkham Asylum, and he was in there for a while, and of course, while he was in there, Harvey Dent, aka Two-Face, was the guy that ruled the Gotham City turfs. And so Joker wants to go and take that back from him. That is the basic storyline. Everything else that happens while trying to get to this point is what makes this story really dark and can be a really hard read for some people. Joker is on every type of drug. He just kills people for no reason. He even rapes women in the comic. It's just a lot of vulgarity in this one graphic novel. It is. Bermejo's art being really raw and gritty. I think it epitomizes not only Joker the character, but all the actions he's doing all within Gotham City, which I have said many times before is a trash place. Honestly, I think Joker is a great graphic novel, putting all that aside, because you actually do get to see the horrible villain that has a lot of demonizing qualities, but then from time to time you see a little shimmer of human emotions. It is a dark, gritty, dirty, nasty, violent, bloody, good time. Our number 2 story is iconic. A lot of these stories are very iconic, but it just is. And it's another Grant Morrison entry, and it is 1989's one-shot graphic novel, Arkham Asylum, a serious house on serious earth, and it was illustrated by Dave McKean. And Gaspar Saladino, like, his art is so dope anyway. If you are a person that wants to learn more about Arkham Asylum, this is the book for you. The story isn't just a good Batman being trapped at Arkham Asylum by Joker and Two-Face and Mad Hatter and Maxie Zeus and all kinds of the rogues gallery, and he has to find his way out of Arkham. But it's also a really good and awful story about the founder, Amadeus Arkham, how he ended up in Arkham himself, and his history with his mother that involves rape and murder, and him wearing his mother's wedding dress, and overall trying to get the violent, large bat that just haunts him, his dreams, in Arkham Asylum. And of course, what is this large bat? Or at least, what would be a trigger of this large bat? Oh, a guy dressed up as a bat, of course. This story is a crazy, rabbit hole filled book for a lot of reasons. One that I've always loved is the interpretation of the different rogues. And it's all very psychological. You're diving deeper into the psychosis and the reasons why the rogues tick. You even dive into Batman's psychosis and the trauma he went through when his parents died. When you deal with not only murder and suicide, but also rape of women and children, it's just a lot. There's a lot of layers and a lot of reasons why this story is not for the faint of heart, or it's really not suitable for a younger audience. But when you get older, or when you're like, I need to read an essential Batman story, A Serious House on Serious Earth, man, so good and so crazy, but so good. We are finally at our top Batman comic that is just not suitable for kids, and you probably guessed it. It's probably easy to figure out, but I don't know how it could not be on this list. And that is, of course, Alan Moore and Brian Boland's 1988 graphic novel, Batman the Killing Joke. It is probably the best modern retelling of Joker's most popular origin story. You not only get that, but it is the book where Joker commits a home invasion, shoots and paralyzes Barbara Gordon, aka Batgirl at the time, kidnaps her father, Commissioner Gordon, and takes Commissioner Gordon to an abandoned amusement park, strips him naked, and then throws him on a carnival ride and shows him pictures of a naked Barbara Gordon shot and bleeding, just to make him, Commissioner Gordon, go insane. Because Joker wants to prove that anybody, even the most sane, upright man like James Gordon, can go crazy after one horrible day experience. This changed the lives of everyone in the Batman mythos, because once they put this within continuity, Barbara Gordon was still paralyzed. She had to give up the mantle of Batgirl. She did become the amazing Oracle, which, love that, one of my favorite personas of all time. But it was still lasting scars, of course, on Barbara from the trauma. Of course, on Commissioner Gordon, stories later on still have him reeling and hating the Joker for doing this awful crime to his daughter. And of course, Batman just having the vendetta against Joker because he's just committed so many atrocities to the Batman family, it's just hard to count anymore. And there's even speculation that after Joker shot Barbara and he started to undress her to take the photos that Commissioner Gordon sees, we don't see any nudity. We don't see exposed breasts, anything like that. However, Brian Bolland did draw that. And there are pages that exist out there that show that at first he was just going to fully undress her. A lot of people think that that insinuates that Joker might have sexually assaulted her after she was shot. This is not confirmed by anybody that was on the project, so I don't like to say that is what happened. But from different evidence that we have, it seems like Joker may have done more to Barbara than just shot her and took photos of her. While other stories we have discussed have dealt with assault and murder and all of these really dark topics, this was the most influential, I think, on Batman's lore. His long 80-year lore. That is a really dark comic that isn't, you know, an Elseworld like vampire bats or anything like that. It all happened, and it is something that Batman continually struggles with over the next now 3 decades. It is just a great Joker origin story, and it's also a good Batman and Joker story. I think that's just a huge point to realize about Batman and Joker, is that literally they are destined to do this forever, and that's just one of the reasons why Batman's mythology in this story and in all of the other ones is just so fascinating, so good, even if the young ones shouldn't pick up these particular stories. Thank you guys so much for watching this video about the top 10 Batman comics that reader discretion should be advised. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a bat thumbs up. As always, all of my social media is linked in the description below, including Instagram at History of the Batman. So why don't you give it a follow and to become a Gothamite? Check out my videos for DC Comics DC Fans channel. Check out my Comicosity column, Beyond the Batcave. And before I go, I want to remind you guys that you have a week left to enter my Batman 8th anniversary giveaway that of course is sponsored by Culture Fly's World's Finest The Collection. I am giving away their Batman 80th subscription box, which I unboxed in my last History of the Batman video. So I'll put that in the description below. And also in the description is how to enter. It is very easy. You just have to follow Culture Fly and World's Finest The Collections on Instagram, subscribe to this YouTube channel, History of the Batman's YouTube channel, and comment on this video or any video on my channel, Long Live the Bat. This is actually the box that one lucky winner will receive. It's all nice and, you know, wrapped and good to go. Go for it. Enter. You have a week. It ends on Halloween, so next Thursday. You have a week to enter. Last thing is, please subscribe to this channel so you can become part of this Batman community. It would mean so much to me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will have more History of the Batman soon, right here on YouTube. Remember, Gothamites, all about peace, love, and Batman. Bye.
What?